Good afternoon. I'd like to call this meeting to order. If we could please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Peggy Mossy,
Here.
Paul Godwin,
Here.
Chris Huster,
Here.
Karen Kellum,
Here.
Dan Downey.
This meeting is a meeting of the Deer Park Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. Due to the COVID-19 national pandemic, community input is being suspended for this meeting. However, public comments will be accepted via the link.
Thank you. May I have a motion for approval of the meeting agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or discussion? All those in favor of approving tonight's meeting agenda, please signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. District recognitions and donations.
Yes, thank you. We have 3 recognitions this evening and 1 donation, and I'm going to start out with our recognitions. The board would like to recognize the following students whose artwork is featured on this year's district birthday cards. We have 3 different winners from, I guess you could say winners from last year, but that were selected from Amity Elementary, and Mrs. Lane always does a fantastic job with her students designing the district birthday cards that we send out to staff members and other folks. And the first card is done by Chloe Gordon. She was in, I think she was in 3rd grade last year, being 4th grade, is in 4th grade this year. But that is the first card that we used, and it's really well done from Chloe, so I'll pass that around for you guys to look at. The second birthday card was done by Riley O'Brien. Riley was a 2nd grader last year, and so she'll be a 3rd grader this year, and pass that around. And the last one is done by David Sparks, and I think we all know David, at least we know David's dad pretty well. He was in 2nd grade last year, will be in 3rd grade, is in 3rd grade this year. So I'll pass that around for you all to look at as well. Cute cards. The next piece is a donation. The board would like to accept a donation in the amount of $1,075 from Cincinnati Hills League towards the purchase of a laptop for the athletic department, and I'll ask you guys for approval of that when we get to superintendent recommendations. And that is it for district recognitions and donations.
Thank you. Reports of the superintendent.
That's quick.
That was quick.
Time to
We're on it.
think. Okay. You know, the last several weeks we've had a common theme. We're talking about the reopening of schools. At least this week we're not planning the reopening of schools like we have at the past few board meetings. We're talking about how it went. And so far it's went very, very well. You know, there's a few hiccups the first week, and I think that was to be expected. But I've asked Mr. Hartley and Mr. Dreward and Dr. Orso just to give a little update from their end about how things are going in their building. I asked them to, speak for a minute or two. So, Mr. Hartley, why don't we start with you at the high school, and if you will go over to the mic and give us a brief update.
Yeah, sure. Use my notes here. I would say, really, the term smooth, things have been going really, those things have been heard to me often throughout the hallways, especially last week, first day or two. It was a lot of teachers saying, things are going pretty good. So I just, I think the students have really stepped up. I think the families and the parents for preparing their students for what things are going to be like. Thank our teachers also. They've just really done an outstanding job keeping everyone focused and really working on building relationships with kids instead of cracking down. These are the rules. These are, they're relationship first, and then the students have kind of taken that lead. And things have been, honestly, they've been very, very smooth, again, to use that word. Starting with our entries in the morning, we have students, as you know, we have students coming in different entrances. Those are going really well. If you were to happen to drive by the front building at 7:55, you should see lines of students. One for the front entrance for juniors and seniors, one for the 8th and 9th graders. But they've been spread out. They've been coming in. The temperature scans are going quickly. It's actually been smooth enough that originally we were having students go directly to their first bell, bring their backpacks with them. so that they weren't late because we didn't know how long the temperature scan would take. It's been going smooth enough where we'd say, okay, this is great. You guys can go to your lockers before school. And although that doesn't really sound like a big thing, I think it speaks to how smooth the transition has been. So moving on to, anything like cleanliness throughout the day, throughout the transition, spraying the desks down and wiping those down, the cafeteria and spacing, and especially masks. I know I was a little bit nervous. I know our teachers were very nervous. How are we going to make sure that, we enforce this mask? It's been really, really pretty good. I think the kids also know they want to be in school. They want to be with their friends. So occasionally, we might have to tell a kid, hey, pull that over your nose. I think over 6 days now, I've only had to give out 2 masks to students coming in. And that's about average for all the entries. Just a kid walking in and say, hey, forgot mine today. Can I use one? Yeah, no problem. But our kids are on board. So it's been going really well. And then the last couple things is, last Wednesday and this Wednesday, we're just kind of checking in with our teachers, checking in with our building leadership team, and communicating if there's anything we need to adjust. But there's really not been anything too much to adjust at this point also. Maybe some little things here and there, but nothing major at all that we've really had to fix. So I think that's a good thing. That's a good thing. And, that's about all I have. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Hartley, and I'll give the board a chance to ask a question in just one second, but I do want to interject one thing too before we get to Mr. Drewer. But last week, if you remember, we had to quarantine some students and also a couple staff members, and I just want to make it clear, we did send out letters. I think it was at the high school building, Dr. Orso. But if a student ever is in close contact, and we sent out those letters basically as a district for the whole building, and really it's to inform parents that there was a close contact, we had to quarantine. If your kid, and I'm talking to parents that may be watching the board meeting right now, if your child is ever one of those close contacts, you'll hear from us before the letter even goes out. I think that maybe there was a little confusion when the letter went out. They said, what does that mean to us? And while we can't violate HIPAA and tell you who it is or what it's about, you will hear from us that your child was a close contact and that your child would have to quarantine being that close contact. So I just wanted to clarify that because I know there was a little confusion last week when we had our first issue and we had to send home a letter. So, okay, Board of Ed, do you have any questions for Mr. Hartley?
Yeah, I do, real quick. So the Wednesdays, so far, the students don't have any work.
Correct.
Next Wednesday, they won't because of Labor Day.
Right.
So that'll start the following week.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. In terms of shifting to that idea of blended instruction, yes, that would shift to 2 Wednesdays from now.
Okay. And most of the contact of that really goes from the teacher to the student per each class?
Yeah, we have set up times for specific subjects to be open.
Yes, and I saw that.
Yeah, and then teachers are open and available, but also teachers are going to be proactively providing assignments and work for our students to do on their own.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of as a side note there, in my weekly memo that I'll send out on Sunday, I'm going to send out just another reminder to parents and to students that blended learning will start soon. And it'll actually start next week for A-Day students on Thursday and Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Is that right? So, just that reminder that you are expected to be working out. Even when you're home, we're kicking it into that next level and be ready. And then just saw one quick email today from ODE that talked about guidance and strategies to helping students work through their blended learning or their remote learning days. So I'm going to share that out as well. It was called the 6 R's, and I don't remember all the 6 R's, so don't call on me for that one. But it's just another tip to help students and parents organize their days.
And just to elaborate just a little bit too on those Wednesdays, kind of the general structure for our district is we've asked teachers to dedicate 3 hours to student engagement, whether that's Google Hangouts, meeting with their classrooms, talking through lessons, doing some additional teaching, office hours, those types of things. And then the other 3 hours that they have that are, and just to get in the weeds a little bit, 7 hours and 35 minutes is teacher contract time. Planning bell and lunch takes up about an hour and 10, 15 minutes. That's about 75 minutes of that. So then you have 6 hours of instruction left during a typical day. So 3 hours is dedicated to engaging our students. The other 3 hours, teachers will be preparing videos, lessons, things like that to be put on Schoology so that kids, when they're not in school, so the A students when they're at home on Thursday, Fridays, and the B students when they're at home on Monday, Tuesdays, will be able to utilize that Schoology content and access, whether it's digital videos or assignments, whatever the teachers are coming up with. So I know that they've been working hard on that already during their Wednesdays. So just wanted to elaborate a little bit on our structure.
Thank you.
So on the days that they are not in school, they don't have a designated time, they just have to complete their work, correct? But they don't have a designated time when they have to be working.
The
Students, I'm
the
talking.
only designated time is for junior, senior high students on those Wednesdays because they have specific times that the
Correct.
departments will meet so that kids that want to get on and engage for math, science, English, and social studies, it's not overlapping and they don't have a
Correct.
conflict. But other than that, there's no dedicated, for example, our remote learners who are choosing specifically remote have the 5.5 and the 5 3/4 hours that are required. That's not the same with the blended approach.
Okay.
So,
Just wanted to
yes.
clarify that.
Yep.
Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hartley. Mr. Druid.
Okay, so we also had a great start this past week, and what I'm going to say is going to echo a lot of what Mr. Hartley talked about. Great start, and I think that that's a testament to the teamwork that was involved. And I say teamwork, that being, our teachers for, helping come up with the plan and then execute it within the classroom and being prepared with all the ins and outs that it takes to have elementary school students in. Teamwork from the students. I tell you what, they exceeded expectations. For us, the big fear is how do you get a first grader to wear a mask, and they came in ready to go and follow those directions and learn those new routines. And teamwork from our parents, just in the fact that, I know that they helped us prepare those students when they came to us. They did come with masks. We didn't pass out a lot of masks on those first days. And so we got in and got rolling.
And kids weren't coming to school with fever, so if a kid was sick, the parents were keeping them home, which is huge. That's a big help to us.
Yep. So, arrival process, dismissal process, going well. After that first week, we tinkered with some things. Lunches are going well in the cafeteria. We're getting them through starting about 10:20 and going till about around 12:45. Our recesses we're down to really one class out on a recess at a time. We do have a 5-minute overlap, but we've organized it so that our kids are lining up and they're kind of separated from the other kids as they come out. And so our kids are able to utilize the entire playground, and they're doing a great job of even wearing their masks out on the playground. When we have them on the playground equipment, they have to wear their masks there. They're doing a great job. Sometimes they're running full tilt, and we're like, hey, you can take your mask off, So they're really taking it seriously. We're building those routines with hand washing and, and cleaning. They're doing a great job of cleaning their hands before lunch, after lunch, when they come in from recess, after any time that we're leaving the classroom and coming back. And so we've got a great start. Our kids are doing great. We'll keep refining, but overall it's going really well.
Any questions from the board?
I have a question. Did everybody pick up their computers?
We have, to be honest, we have not yet distributed computers. We are waiting till we're going to complete map testing this next week. And so we want to have those computers ready to go so that way they're charged and ready.
Are you talking about the remote learners?
Yeah, well, let's go with remote learners first and then.
Devin, where are we at with the remote learners? I know after the first pass out, we had about 75%, I think, pick up, and then we also had them available here after that. But
Correct. So remote learners, we did have them pick up the Thursday before school started. We had about 75% show up that day. And every day since then, including up to now, we actually have devices up front in the board with chargers ready to go. If there's any parents that don't have a device, they can swing by and pick it up at their leisure.
Okay. So then I do have a question too. So you're doing map testing, so that's what's happening in the classroom right now.
This next week.
Okay. So when the computers go home with the kids in the evening, do they have a bag that they go in?
they're gonna have their charger and their computer. You know, we would hope that they would take them home in a book bag. That would be ideal, so that they're not carrying multiple things.
Okay.
Any other questions from the board? Okay, Mr. Drury, thank you. And I know Dr. Orso, I'd asked you to speak to a couple things. One, gift of services, an update on remote learning, and I'm going to throw you a curveball. I know you don't like these, but just a quick update on our Deer Park Discovery.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll start with remote learners. So we've got our K-5 students doing Accelerate with Miss Lemon and Miss Upton, and then we have our 6-12 students doing Apex with Miss Hibbett and Miss Apke. And we are, as you know, in day 7 of that, because those students are going 5 days a week since they are remote. And last week was a little bit bumpy getting up and going. It sounds like the students and parents who attended the orientation with those teachers were able to get logged in, but those who weren't able to attend that orientation, it did take a little bit of extra. Teachers have spent some time Google Meeting individually with parents and students to get them logged in. However, we're starting to meet with those teachers every week, and so I met a second time today with the Apex teachers, and they said that things are going much better at this point. And so they're getting less things, less questions on a daily basis, and students are kind of starting to chug along and pick up on what they're supposed to be doing on a daily basis. The Accelerate students, I meet with Miss Lemon and Miss Upton again on Thursday, and so I'll get an update from them. But last Thursday when I talked to them, they said each day last week had gotten better and better. And so I haven't heard from them since then with a whole lot of additional questions, so I think things are going pretty well. I think the biggest learning curve for those students is, A, it is really important that they have a learning coach at home who is helping them stay on track and making sure that they're getting to the right places. Miss Upton and Miss Lemon are also supplementing some of the material because it doesn't all align directly with the standards that we're teaching in Ohio or Common Core. And so they are supplementing some stuff. And so there are some different places for students to go to pick up that material. However, it's the same thing every day. So once students sort of get in the routine of doing it, they'll know where to go every single day. It's the same thing. They're not throwing different things at them every day. So I think it's just been a learning curve, but I think we're on the right path. So any questions as far as remote learning goes?
No.
So, are you happy with the software packages on both sides, and you like the educational value that we're getting out of it so far?
For the most part, with any canned curriculum that you get that they distribute across the country, there's going to be things that we have to take and modify to make it more meaningful for our students. And so as Accelerate is a new program to us, the teachers and the students are having to learn that. Apex has been a little bit easier of a transition because Ms. Apke's already familiar with Apex because she's been in the Wildcat Virtual Academy before, and many of our students are already familiar with it as well. And so Apex has been a slightly easier transition than the Accelerate.
What a learning process for both students and teachers, and hopefully that will segue into a good year.
Yes.
No problem. I was just going to say that I saw where Miss Hibbett and Mrs. Apke are doing that, some of the little supplemental things. So I'm anxious to hear how those go as well, because I thought there were some clever things already that they're doing. So I thought that was exciting.
Yeah, actually, I'm glad you brought that up. That's a good point. The teachers in doing both curriculums are doing some social emotional learning components with it, and they're trying to continue to build that community because they are still Deer Park students, and they will be returning eventually, whether it's at the semester or next year, and we want them to feel like they're continuing to be a part of the community throughout the process. And so they're doing lots of Google Meets. They did some stuff today Miss Apke and Miss Hibbett were telling me about that sounded really fun. They had a lunch group.
Yes.
And so they'll have lunch with kids, and they can sign in and do lunch, and they'll just kind of chat. And so they're doing a lot of those types of activities, too, which is really fun and engaging.
Deer Park Discovery.
Okay, the Discovery Program. So Ms. McKeever, so those students are also coming every single day because we are at a very low capacity. So we have 9 students in one session and 7 in the other session. So we're at 16 right now. Our cap is close to that. So not sure that there's a whole lot of capacity to add a whole lot more, but we wanted to leave a little bit of wiggle room there. So 9 in one session and 7 in the other. Those students have been coming every day, so they've been through 7 days so far. They are doing also some social emotional learning during those times as well. So I believe the process right now is they come in, and remember, these students are on half days, so they're either 8:30 to 11:30 or 12:30 to 3:30. And so they'll come in and spend about an hour and a half on the curriculum. They're using Edgenuity. And then they'll do what's called Discovery with Ms. McKeever. And so they do some social emotional learning for 30 minutes or so. And sometimes they'll take a break during that time as well. And then they'll get back on Edgenuity and finish out their time in the morning. And they're getting a lot of one-on-one individualized attention during that time too. And Ms. McKeever's been really pleased with the progress that the students are making. And I know Mr. Phillips and I have been down there several times, and most of them are working really hard, and we're seeing a lot of really good progress. So it'll take time to get in the groove, especially as we add a new student here or there. You know, it kind of you got this rhythm going, and then you're adding students, and so we're kind of working through some of those bumps. But you know, I think overall it's going really well.
And I just want to add to that, Ms. McKeever has been working extremely hard, really since March, April, May, whatever it was last year when we hired her, just trying to get things set and ready to go for this classroom. But she has done a tremendous job building the relationships with the kids, and I've talked to a few of them walking in the building before their classes start, just trying to feel out what their thoughts are, how they're feeling about the instruction that they're getting. And every kid I've talked to, and I've only talked to a handful, but they have been very happy. They've said, you know, quite honestly, things I wouldn't have ever expected to hear from them, and with some of my experiences with them in the past, that they love what they're doing, that they think it's a great fit for them. So it's kudos to Ms. McKeever for building those relationships and really getting our students excited about learning and participating in this program. So it's been, you know, the feedback from my end when I dig in has been really good. So.
And there's a lot of parental contact with Deer Park Discovery. Ms. McKeever talks to parents almost on a daily basis, whether it's phone calls or text messages. So there's a lot of communication going on there.
Thank you, Dr. Orso.
And Gifted?
Yeah, Gifted.
Okay. So are there any questions about the Discovery before I go on to Gifted? Okay. So Gifted, we hired, as you're aware, we hired a Gifted consultant or Gifted intervention specialist, a GIS, through Hamilton County Educational Service Center this year. Her name is Casey Darrow, and we hired her for 1 day a week. And so what we're doing is her and Ms. Stevenson at Amity and I and Mr. Gerard have met a couple of times now to figure out what that schedule is going to look like, because we don't have Casey every day with us. She's not able to provide that daily pull-out instruction for Gifted. And so what we've decided to do is Ms. Stevenson's going to continue to teach her daily sixth grade advanced math class, and then she's going to focus the rest of her time on 3rd through 6th grade ELA, while Casey is going to focus on 3rd through 5th grade math, enrichment, and gifted services. What she's going to do is she's with us 2 half days a week, and so she's with us Tuesday mornings and Thursday mornings. So as we're still on the blended model, and this is just the plan through blended, and once we get back fully, we'll have to develop a new plan. But on Tuesdays, she's going to meet with the B students remotely. That way she can meet with all of them at once. And then on Thursdays, she's going to meet with the A students remotely because they'll be home remote at that time. And then the additional time that she has in the morning, she'll be able to go in and actually push into the classroom or pull students out to provide additional enrichment for the students that are on site on those days. So like on Tuesday, she'll do B-day students remotely and then pull out A-day students. And then on Thursday, she'll do A-day students remotely and pull out B-day students. It's kind of confusing, but that's essentially the way it's going to work. And so we're able to service more students this way by having Casey with us this year.
Questions for Dr. Orso from the board? Thank you. Okay, and I just have, this isn't necessarily about the reopening of schools, although one piece is, you know, we talked in here several times about desk dividers or sneeze guards, whatever you want to call those. And the company that we were working with, you know, we were pushing them. They had a deadline of the beginning of school, the week before the beginning of school, really. They didn't make that deadline. They gave us some replacement sneeze guards, desk dividers that we've been using in the classrooms until ours come in. Well, when I was speaking with the company last week, again, I was talking to them very frequently, and the deadline was getting pushed back again and again. So I I told this company that I was going to go out and look for others, and if I could find others, that I was going to cancel that order. I was also told by that company that they didn't think I'd be able to find any because it's in such high demand right now. I talked to a company on Thursday, placed the order on Friday. They flew from South Korea over the weekend, ended up in Erlanger, Kentucky at DSL on Monday, and they're here today on Tuesday. So we have 600 of them that came today. We're distributing them out to the buildings. They came this afternoon. We're distributing them out to the buildings tomorrow. They'll be in all the classrooms, and then also the classrooms with tables, and some of the teachers also requested a few at the high school. We will have plenty. So I brought an example over so that you guys can see it's clear all the way around, and so 600 of them, yep. So
Much better than the other one,
yeah, yes, they're, again, the other ones had,
closed side.
yeah, closed sides. The ones we ordered didn't, but those might not have got here till Christmas at this rate. So we made it happen, we made it work, so we'll have those out distributed, and then we'll give the replacements back to that other company once we distribute those out. So just wanted to give you an update on that. And then there were a couple district projects that I could save for board discussion, but I'm just going to talk about it now. I just wanted to give you an update. We've been talking about these things periodically, but the gym on the roof at the junior senior high, we've brought this up. We've been talking about it for a year or so now. And as you know, we had our annual roof review with Garland in the past. Said we needed to put a replacement on there. It's about a $450,000 expense to $500,000 expense to put that new gym roof on. Jim Stahl, our Director of Business Operations, he went out and got some other opinions. We worked with Jerry Stoker and actually another architectural firm that went and said it actually only had one roof on it, that it can be peeled, that we can actually put a roof over top of it. That was different from the initial opinion. So he, with the help of that architectural firm and Jerry Stoker, he inspects here in Deer Park and some other areas. Jim said he's going to be able to get those, and he's already got some bids, but low bid for a new roof, $96,000 up to a high of $145,000. So that's a huge savings. And he said that he's going to look at that as a early summer, one of the first projects when we get out of school, going into the summer of 2021. So that is big for us, saves us quite a bit of money. The other thing I want to talk about, we mentioned briefly, is the visiting bleachers. So this is kind of an interesting thing. We work with a company, I won't name company names, but they don't give you a final stamp whether these bleachers are approved or you have to condemn them, because they need to be replaced. But it's a company that they install bleachers. And they've told us the last few years that these bleachers need to be replaced. Well, we actually got a structural engineer out here, and we wanted an approval or, stamp them, condemn that we can't use them. And he said we actually, in writing, he said 3 to 5 years if we would sandblast them, scrape some rust off, paint them. He said they should last us at least 3 to 5 years. Could even possibly stretch to 10. Wouldn't put that in writing, but he said our bleachers are good to go. I've got Mr. Stahl working on that now, and hopefully sooner rather than later, he'll be able to get somebody in here to get those sandblasted, use a wire brush, get the rust off, paint them, and they should last us for a good while longer. And again, that's a big savings in and of itself. That's right now, today's cost $50,000 to replace those bleachers. So that's an expensive cost that will be another savings for us, at least for the short term. And then I also wanted to mention that, as you guys know, we've talked about this the last several years, about electric rates. Our Director of Business Operations, Jim, is always looking at these. Those are one of the things that he always checks into. In 2018, he was able to get us down to basically 0.0513 cents a watt. I won't give you all the wattage because I don't know the direct terminology, but he has renegotiated and renewed our electric rate. That'll save us annually almost $17,000. I'm sorry, $6,000 annually, almost a little over 17 over the next 3 years. So that's another great savings for us, and we actually completed that agreement with Lincoln Energy yesterday. So just wanted to brief the board on that. That's a great savings for us as well. So those are the district project updates. Any questions regarding the reopening of schools or our district projects that we're working on currently?
A couple of questions. One, there was an article in the paper this morning, I believe, about, either this morning or yesterday morning, about schools cleaning processes for the, and something that was mentioned as often in the article was electrostatic sprayers to do the cleaning, and are we doing that?
Yeah, we do have an electrostatic sprayer. I don't know, it's in the cleaning schedule, it's a mister. But again, those are done during the day to be able to
Right.
quickly get in, and then on Wednesdays. Because what those do is those kill the germs, but they don't remove the germs. We've kind of talked about that and the difference between those and deep cleaning, but yes, we do have one of those.
The other question I have is how has the attendance gone? Are we missing kids, or are we getting, do we have more kids than we expected?
No, I wouldn't say we have more kids. We knew how many were going to go remote, and I think that stayed pretty consistent. From an attendance, I look at the attendance list every single day, and we do have a few kids here and there out, but generally our attendance rate has been pretty good. Josh, or I don't know if Shane left, would you agree? Am I missing anything there?
I mean, just it's the norm, it's normal. We have kids that don't play well start today.
I would, and if you can't, for those at home that can't hear, Mr. Drewer said it's pretty typical. You know, we will have kids sick, and I know I was talking with our school nurse at Amity today. I was talking to Leslie, and you know, one of the things that's been hard for her is if a kid has a headache or anything that resembles a symptom, we've got to call home, and the kid needs to go home, and so that's made it a little bit more difficult for her, because she's, you know, typically they would probably try to tough it out and stay and make it through the day. And I know it makes it more difficult and challenging on parents. You know, she said she's heard a few parents scolding their kids, say, "You better really be sick." But you know, she's had to send a few more kids home than she typically would. I think that's one difference we've noticed. But other than that, it's been pretty typical.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, Mrs. Bossy, that is the end of my superintendent report.
Well, thank you very much. Let's keep going then with recommendations.
Okay, thank you. My first recommendation is to approve the acceptance of $1,075 from the Cincinnati Hills League for the purchase of a laptop for the athletic department.
So moved.
Questions or discussion? All those in favor of accepting $1,075 from the CHL for the purchase of a laptop for the athletic department, please signify by stating aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. My next recommendation is to approve Edgenuity K-12 online learning solutions for special education students and students enrolled in the Deer Park Discovery Program for the 2020-2021 school year.
So moved. Second.
Questions or discussion?
And just a quick comment on that. Dr. Orso mentioned how we are using Edgenuity in the Deer Park Discovery Program. She talked a little bit to that already. We are also using it with our students that are on IEPs so that we can provide the services that come with those students. We actually have a teacher through Deer Park for Edgenuity that works with these students through the online portion, students that are doing remote. So that's how we're able to meet the services and the minute requirements, because we actually contract with them through these licenses.
How many, approximately, do you know how many special ed students do we have remote?
22.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Mrs. Haddon.
All right, any other questions or discussion? All those in favor of approving the Edgenuity K-12 online learning solutions for special ed students and students enrolled in the Deer Park Discovery Program for the 2020-2021 school year, please signify by stating aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. And my next recommendation is to approve policy 3220, which is a revised policy for the standards-based teacher evaluation system.
Second.
Questions or discussion?
And just a quick update. This is really in regards to OTES 2.0. We're in OTES 1.0, and we are still going to be in that for another year. We just had to have a policy in place we're on it by September 1st, I think it was. Is that right, Dr. Orso? That talks about OTES 2.0, and really what they're doing is, when you look at OTES 1.0 for the teacher evaluation system, they have a student performance piece that comes from the students and the course assessments that is married with the evaluation that the principal does. they're taking that, and it's not going to be two separate entities anymore. It's actually just going to be one, so we're not going to be, you guys have probably all heard of the SLOs. Those are gone. Those are going away. So really, that's what this is about. But we aren't in OTES 1. We aren't as a district in 2.0 until next year. But we had to have the policy in place by September 1st of 2020. So we're cutting it a little close.
Yeah, you think?
But
September 1st?
but we have it. So that's it. Anything to add to that, Dr. Orso? Okay.
So are SLOs gone this year, or they will be with 2.0?
They're gone.
They're gone, okay. Thank you. Any other questions or discussion? All those in favor of approving policy 3220, standard-based teacher evaluation, please signify by stating aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. And I believe, let me double check, make sure I don't
That's
have
all
anything
I
else.
have.
I think that's all you have. That is the end of my recommendations.
Thank you. All right, moving on to board discussion.
I have some, can I go first? Okay, I would just like to thank the Sycamore United Presbyterian Church because they donated 100 kids masks and, or 150 kids masks and 100 adult masks. And so they're continuing to be willing to do that as much or as often as we need. And they're getting kind of creative in the fact that, excuse me, they've got high hopes for us because they're already starting on the ones for Halloween and Thanksgiving and Christmas. So their plans are that we're going to be, you know, a little stylish in the classrooms. So I just want to tell them thank you for that.
Awesome. And I would second that.
I was a little surprised when I looked at the high school, junior high notice this morning to discover that today was a picture day.
Today is not picture day.
Yeah, but it was the thing that went out in an email this morning, said it was picture day today.
Oh,
Yeah, that's why I sent that follow-up email to the community and said that was an error on the date. So if you haven't seen it yet, you should see a follow-up email with the correct dates on it.
September 8th, right?
September 8th. Yep, September 8th and September 11th.
for A and B day.
Yep.
All right. And do we have a date for Amity pictures at this time?
We just got that set up today. To give you the date off the top of my head, I can't say it, but it's going to be in October. And we have those for A and B days as well.
Sorry to cut. I didn't hear about that. I must have missed it. So that second email must have calmed the nerves out there because it didn't get to me yet. So
Just out of curiosity, so what about the homeschool kids?
we are also working. That was in the release as well. We are going to be working on a date for our kids that are doing remote learning. But that'll be, when did you say, Jake? Did you in that release did it say towards the second semester?
I think that's what I read, second semester.
Yeah, so we will have, there is one, and that was communicated out in that release as well. So we will not be leaving them out, nor will we leave out our Deer Park Discovery students. They'll be in pictures as well.
And maybe we'll all be back together and we can just do one big picture.
Keep our fingers crossed. That'd be great.
Our yearbook, are those pictures going to be part of the yearbook? Is this company, whoever we're going with, are they going to be doing
So,
everything?
no,
Or
and
how's that
thank
work?
you for asking that. So, last year we had some issues in the district, and I think parents would know with Life Touch because I heard from several parents. I know you guys probably heard from some parents regarding Life Touch. So we are working with Ritchie Photography. They also bought Executive Studios, I think last year, 2 years ago. So Executive Studios, Ritchie Photography is one company. And they do not publish yearbooks, however. So we are still currently working with Life Touch for our yearbooks, and Ritchie Photography will work with Life Touch he will share. I've already talked to him about that, so he will share any photos that need to be shared for our yearbooks. But that's who we're working with, two companies currently.
So will information go out like to seniors? Because I know senior pictures were different than what got in the yearbook.
Yep. Yeah, we will send that. All that information will be communicated. We're just kind of getting going. We
Right.
canceled our dates with Life Touch, and then with the pandemic, we tried to sneak a couple dates in there early, obviously, with our late transition to Ritchie. There were a lot of dates already blacked out, but I know Mr. Hartley got those dates out. It's not today. And then Mr. Drewer is going to be doing his in October, but that other information will be communicated to our seniors as well.
Super.
Yep. And Executive Studios primarily did senior portraits in the past. And I think they'd worked with a lot of Deer Park students in the past as well. So it's kind of nice that that's one company now, Ritchie and Executive. Okay.
Yep.
I have one other thing, quick thing for board discussion. I'll mention the calendar as well. I talked with Corky O'Callaghan, who is he's really our community engagement expert. He's worked with us on several levies in the past. He had worked with us on our advocacy leadership team. He sent out a timeline. We're just talking about here towards the end of September, re-engaging our public advocacy team and thinking about how to build that out further. And then really trying to engage more of our school support groups and organizations and our city officials and leaders into that as well as we get going into the new year. And just really trying to create a snowball of support for the district and what we're doing here in public school in general. So just kind of giving you a heads up on that. And calendars, Mr. Snyder just got these in. I think these are hot off the presses today. We'll be getting those out to all of our students, our families. However, folks will notice one difference with the change to a hybrid schedule. Our calendar is pretty bare. We removed a lot of the activities that are typically in there, the school plays, the sports contests, because things have changed. The football schedule went from 10 games to 6 games, and everything's going to be a little bit different how we do things. So but we did hear the feedback. Everybody wanted a calendar. They liked the flip calendar, so we got the calendars. There's updated pictures. It's just pretty empty. I think you'll see the end of the quarters in there and the board meeting dates at least through the end of December, and that's pretty much it.
I do have a question.
You pulled those too.
I have a question on October 16th, end of the first quarter.
Mhm.
It says student half day. That's on
Correct.
Friday. Is that a half day?
It still is a student half day. Yep. And you'll look at the when you get the calendar that we sent out, the revised calendar that had the school days on it. It was a one-page PDF. I think most of you should have seen it. It'll tell you in there what day it is, whether it's the A day. I think what we did, Karen, is we changed that to our remote learning day, so that the teachers would have that 3 hours of instruction in there, and then the other half of the day is their records day, like typical. So on those days when it's the end of the quarter, Monday, Tuesday would be A, Wednesday, Thursday during those weeks are B, and then Friday is the remote day.
Good thing you have this calendar, you can write it all down.
Yes, we can fill it up.
Fill it up. That's it from me.
Okay. Anybody else?
No.
We brought up last meeting about,
You want the,
OSBA conference going to be virtual this year. Any more information on that?
No, we haven't received anything really else. But I did receive one thing today, and I think they're communicating still with people who requested to present or filled out a proposal to present, because our advocacy network, which is part of a bigger Ohio Public School advocacy network, and I'm talking about our leadership piece, was actually accepted to basically host a session during this year's Ohio School Board Conference. So I'll be a part of that with Corky and a couple other superintendents and board members. One or two of you may be asked, if you're participating in our group, to be part of it. I don't know yet. I'm not leading that process, but I did get notified today. So my point is they're still notifying presenters, and I'm sure some other information will come out soon.
But you expect to have presenters in a virtual type?
It's going to be very limited. It's not going to be as big as yes, I think they said they're working on having 60 virtual sessions. Most of them will be pre-recorded. There will be, for example, our session had multiple presenters, and they were talking about ours being live so that you can have question and answer. But a majority of the sessions will be pre-recorded.
And is it, I don't know, I got some things because I'm on that. Is it a Thursday and Friday this year?
I'm not sure, Chris.
Because I looked at that and I did see that, how they were being presented.
Yeah, I would have to go back and look. I haven't really paid attention to the dates. Typically, as you know, they're Monday, Tuesday, come home Wednesday generally.
Right, yeah, that's what I was looking at.
So,
some of that.
Yeah.
Maybe on a Saturday, yeah.
What I do know is it's virtual, so I was a little bummed about that, but
Or you get good information.
If there is no other board discussion, we'll move right along, and we do not have need for executive session this evening. So I am ready to accept a motion for adjournment.
Second.
All those in favor of adjourning tonight's meeting, please signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you all very much.
thank you.